Welcome to the Sonic Days podcast, home of all things audio. This season was recorded live at Sonic Days 2024. In this episode, we're joined by John Krivit, former president of the Audio Engineering Society and current chair of the AES Education Committee, for a focused and inspiring session on building a sustainable career in audio. With decades of experience as an educator, mentor, and industry leader, John breaks down the essential role that education, networking, and strategic planning play in launching and growing a career in sound.
Can you hear me? My name's John Krivit. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very honored that you people would show up. I'm just going to run through 15 strategies that are helpful I found for my students, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you. So, just to let you know, I'm a past president of the International Audio Engineering Society, the AES. Are there any AES members here? Okay, well, welcome. And I'm also senior affiliated faculty at Emerson College in Boston, where I live. And I'm very happy to be here. So I want to go over these 15 strategies. Some of them will go over a little faster. The first thing I would say, and I say this to my students and all students, understand the economy of the field that you're entering. What areas are generating revenue and growing? Where are the opportunities? Where are the jobs? I'd say about 95% of my students study audio because they played in a rock band or they made beats in FL Studio and they thought that that was the coolest thing in the world. And that's not really a great opportunity for a job or career. So I feel like I'm an absolute fraud if I'm not talking about the industry with them, and I'm not talking about the economy with them, and I'm not getting, sometimes, 17, 18 years old, getting them to really think in terms of career and how they're going to turn their studies into something that they would really enjoy doing. So students matriculate into higher education with a very nascent understanding of the audio field. It's my job as an educator to make sure they understand the economy of audio. And one of the things, as a pretty good example, you think about the economy of music, right? So maybe 50 years ago, a rock band would tour, and they would lose money on a tour playing live performances in order to generate sales, radio airplay, and that was kind of the model. That was the economy, and that is reversed, where now we see that rock bands are basically in the t-shirt business. They are selling clothing, they are selling concert tickets, and they give away the recorded music. So that's really flipped. We still have recorded music and we still have concerts, but the relative importance in terms of which one is generating income has reversed itself. Here's a short little clip about what's going on in terms of live sound.
First of all, I have no tattoos and I don't have long hair either, so there's two stereotypes that I've dispelled right there.
Roadies, once the gritty backstage grunts of live shows, are cleaning up their act. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll are out. Efficiency, tech skills, and professionalism are in.
There was a reputation of a lot of indulgence. It's become way more technical, and you have to be way more competent and way more technically proficient in so many different areas at this point. If you have a substance abuse problem, you're not going to be able to hang with it. The hours are too long, the travel is too much, and the stakes are too high also. The culture has definitely changed.
A typical roadie job can pay around $60,000 a year on average, but experienced roadies like Mr. Zinker can earn well above $100,000. Longtime roadie Tom Weber, who maintains guitars for bands like Van Halen and Nine Inch Nails, says he can earn about $200,000 in a good year. With decreasing CD sales a reality within the music business, live performances are now more important, and with that comes the need for skilled technicians.
Artists don't make any money selling records. You have to be on the road to make money. So there are more bands on the road as a result of that. And if you're competent at what you do and you are somewhat aggressive, you can absolutely make a living and make a good living.
The frequent travel and long hours of the job can be rough on relationships and on health, but many say they wouldn't trade it for anything.
Personally, the big advantage is I get to do what I love, and I love mixing live music. I'm not always thrilled with living out of a suitcase, but on the other hand, I've been to so many places that I never would have had the opportunity to visit, and I don't think everybody can say that.
So that may not be for you. It's not for me. I wouldn't have any interest in live sound. Anybody interested in live sound? Well, thank God you are. You know, it's interesting. I feel like in the United States, we do a poor job or not good enough job teaching live sound. What we're doing is we're preparing students to mix a couple of bands on a Tuesday night at a nightclub, making not a sustainable living. So I'm working with Claire Global and other companies to try to make sure that we can put students in a better direction. Here's another strategy. Do everything that you can to stay ahead of the curve. Understand new technology and the cadence of its implementation. Try to anticipate the disruptions. I think that here at Sonic College, you do an excellent job of exactly that. I want to share something with you. My friend Tom is writing a musical about the history of Flint, Michigan, a town that's kind of down on its luck. It used to be a major place where they manufactured cars, and it's maybe one of the poorest communities in the United States right now. And so he's doing a history of it, a musical, and here's a little bit from an opening song.
Piles of money, let's make a car now, we'll all be rich men. Hey, it's new and different, what's all the racket? Is that a car now? Man, that thing must fly, speed of sound, gonna kill us. It must go 20 miles an hour, maybe faster, 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 faster.
Anybody recognize the singer? No? The singer is coming out of a computer. The vocal melody was played into a MIDI keyboard, and there's a program by a Japanese company that I'm working with called Dreamtonics, and they make a program called Synthesizer V. And I think that it has the potential of really revolutionizing the way people write music. Are there any songwriters here? Is anybody writing songs? Not that many of you. I remember being in a college dormitory at the University of Michigan in 1982, I want to say, and someone left in my dormitory room a drum machine, and I thought, this thing is really cool. I'm not going to use it to make a record, and I'm not going to record with it, but I could use it for counting measures, I could use it for charting out a song, I could use it for showing the drummer where I want the backbeat to be. There's lots of interesting uses for it, and I think that this company has no idea how this thing could really revolutionize the way people write music. and come up and maybe do pre-production, whatever it is. I think that, if you think about drum machines have influenced the way music is recorded and played and written, and has really made its way into our culture in a very big way. And I think that this is going to, whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, I think it's going to have some impact. So for me, I'm working with this company because I think that it definitely has a pretty interesting future. Here's strategy number 3. Don't limit your job search only to audio companies. I find that, people look at, okay, what are the manufacturers doing? What are the companies that are programming? What are the companies that are creating content doing? There are also companies that are, maybe there's a company that makes household appliances, and you wouldn't have thought about them, but they need someone to create a podcast, or they need someone to do some kind of commercial AV. So there's always that kind of thing. I have a Facebook group. It's called Hey Audio Student. None of you are probably on Facebook. Or you're on Facebook? Okay, you're on Facebook. Thank you very much. You're very old-fashioned like me. I've got this group. It still has 130,000 members. And when I can't sleep at night, I just repost job leads. And I see all kinds of things from companies that you never would have considered when you're looking to work in audio. So I would say keep yourself open to that. Find alternative ways of cashing in on your audio expertise. Now, I'm used to speaking to people who have a more nascent idea, which is I want to be in a rock band, I want to make music, I want to record music, I want to record the music that I like, and that's a very narrow focus. You guys already have a much broader view, but one of the things that I find is that a lot of my students also love sports, that they're just big at sports. Josh Lemieux and Bill Hunter, they're former students of mine. They decided that audio for TV sports was just as cool as for music. Both have won Emmy Awards while working for ESPN in Los Angeles. I've had a lot of students go into audio for television sports. Another student, Zach Templin, does all the RF coordination for HBO boxing. Again, loves to travel, lots of great, a very sustainable career. I had a student who, got a big start in sports broadcast by doing an internship with the NBC Olympics, the National Broadcasting Company, several years ago, and he's turned that into a really interesting career. There's a great organization. It's called the Sports Video Group. They are, they usually have all kinds of meetings of producers and engineers and mixers, and they're smaller events, but it's a great way to make connections. So I've sent students to this organization, and they're not used to having students, and just the fact that someone would show up has made a great impact, just that, having that curiosity. So the Sports Video Group, SVG, from time to time there are different trends. I had a student who did an internship. This student did an internship at a recording studio. He decided that he just hated being in a recording studio working on other people's music. He was a great musician, loved recording his own music, but the idea of running and getting orange juice for the band, and they're not particularly nice, he really had a less than wonderful experience. So he ended up with this other company that was creating a guitar karaoke game. And the guitar karaoke game turned out to be Guitar Hero. And he was like the 5th person at the company. And then they sold that, and they started this other thing called Rock Band. And then they licensed the Beatles music. And here's this guy who decided he didn't want to be in the recording studio, but he ended up flying to London, to mix the Beatles at Abbey Road Studios, and he had to actually convince Giles Martin to put some compression so that they could actually raise the levels so that it sounded he said, there's no Waves plugin that's going on the Beatles, but it all worked out. So interesting. Strategy number 5, aim high. Try to start out with a company that will train you to work at the highest level. I have a lot of students who will go into a basement pot-smoking recording studio, and they're just kind of learning to do the same thing the same way all the time. And I think that there's some value to going to a place where they're really at the forefront of workflow and technology and broadcast standards and that sort of thing. So I would, keep that in mind, a place where you're always going to learn. Use the power of social media to sell your brand. I ask my students at Emerson College, is it okay if you had an interview with someone and they checked your social media, would that be okay? And a lot of people say, no, that would be an invasion of my privacy. And I'm thinking, I don't know. Then I ask them, if you had an interview with someone, would you check their social media? And they're like, absolutely. So I don't really get the disconnect. I would check someone's social media to find out as much as I could about them. So I really love the fact that this guy, Kevin Thurber, his social media has pictures of him working and the equipment that he's working on. He mentions in this thing, back at the jazz club, recording Brookline Symphony Orchestra and Metropolitan Chorale, Shep's MK4s as main mics, VP88 and KM184s as spot mics for woodwinds and choir, respectively. Kind of makes me think like, this guy's got some experience, that he really actually wants to do this. Set up and ready to go with a corporate event. Just the fact that he's advertising that he's doing this kind of work. I think take advantage of social media as a way to let people know what you're doing. I will just tell you, people will definitely check out your social media. Here's strategy number 7. Don't wait for the world to come to you. Create your opportunities. Curiosity is your currency. So one of the things that I would definitely recommend is that it's not the questions that you answer, it's the questions that you ask. I would much rather hire someone who says, well, I don't know everything about that, but I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can. That would be, to me, more valuable than the person who says, yeah, I already know, I'm already a master at that, I already know what I'm doing. When you're young, I think it's kind of a fallacy that you would be a true expert in anything. So here I am, I'm 62 years old, I'm a past president of the International Audio Engineering Society, and I am still learning new things every day. I think that that's something that you definitely want to do. So I'm a big fan of informational interviews. A student actually wrote to me yesterday and he said, I want to send this cover letter and resume to this company. I said, don't do that yet. I'm going to set you up with another former student of mine who's the director of customer service was at Native Instruments, and go see him, buy him a cup of coffee, ask him lots of questions. So an informational interview, I don't know if maybe the culture is a little bit different, but in the United States, I will just tell you, I don't think people get jobs so much from answering an ad, from being reactive. I think it's about being proactive. Here's some things about informational interviews. Be prepared with research and questions. Drop names. Professor Lars Tersbeck suggested that I call you. You control the dialogue. Don't ask for a job because that's not why you originally contacted them. Limit the time and end with a connection. Ask them, are there other people that I should talk to? I would say don't use this as an opportunity to talk about yourself. Use this as an opportunity to ask lots of questions. I think the person who's curious, you will say more about yourself by asking the right questions. Ask them about themselves, ask them about their story, ask them about the work, the technology that they use, the workflows that they're working on, where they see the sort of the macroeconomic trends in the industry going. Those are the kinds of things that are going to make a big difference, and that's what's going to impress them. Not saying, I got an A in my exam and people thought it was the best project that they had ever seen. Is anybody nervous just calling someone out of the blue? I used to be a very shy person, but I feel like I've fought against it my whole life. But that's the kind of thing that I think is really helpful. And people are always calling me, and I'm always happy to brainstorm ideas for how you can get what you can do with your career and what it is that you like. So I would say, informational interviews are just wonderful for that. Strategy 8, salary isn't the only indicator of your progress, success, growth, so don't pass up opportunities to learn new things. I will post I told you, when I can't sleep at night, I just stay up and I post job leads on the Hey Audio Student Facebook group. Sometimes people get mad at me. They say, how dare you post a job that only offers this pittance of a salary? I will just say, sometimes the opportunity to learn, to grow, to keep moving forward, that's a great reason to do. If you can, I realize that life is somewhat unfair, that some people can afford to do low-paying or unpaid experiences, but if you can do that, that's remarkable. Strategy number 9, find an internship where you will learn, grow, and understand the cadence of professional work. Anything that really allows you to learn as much as you possibly can. I think working with professional people can't be underestimated. There was a survey recently that came out, what makes a college experience worthwhile? Some of the key points: a professor who made them excited about learning, professors who cared about them as a person, a mentor who encouraged them to pursue their goals and dreams, that they worked on a long-term project is something else, had a job or internship where they applied what they were learning, were extremely involved in extracurricular activities. So I think internships are extremely helpful, whether they're formal or whether they're just going to help out or working on whatever projects. So I would say, in hindsight, jump at everything that you can, every experience that you can to work with professional people. One of my students, Max, worked at a place called Pro Audio Design, where he learned how to take apart consoles and refurbish the channels and throw them back in, and had some excellent experience. So if he wanted to work at a recording studio and 1,000 people apply, but one guy can say, I could take the channels out of the console and clean them, and we'll rewire them and put them back in, I think he's probably most suited for that kind of job. Here's strategy number 10, don't fail the first day test. I will say that maybe this is not the case in Denmark. I can't speak to it because I've only been here for a few days. But oftentimes when you start an introductory job or internship, they will give you a difficult, mundane task and it's really a test to see, can you focus on this? Can you concentrate on this? How much do you really want to be here? And if you do great at this, if you do it with a happily accepted smile on your face, I think that they'll move you along to something less mundane. So what I would suggest is understand that it's coming. It's going to be probably the worst 3 days at that experience, and just accept it and do it happily, and let the other intern stew and brood and say and kind of give bad body language and all that kind of stuff. Salary isn't the only indicator of your progress, success, growth, so don't pass up opportunities to learn new things. I think I kind of said that before. Here's number 12, build community. I can't tell you how much I wish I knew this when I was younger. Take advantage of invaluable opportunities to network and connect with your industry. You know, it so happens that in the back of the room over there is Leslie Gaston Bird, the current president of the Audio Engineering Society, which is my old job. So I know what she's going through. I would say the AES has been a wonderful experience for me. I found it as a community. I will just tell you that when I was a young educator, my department chair said, John, we are going to start an AES student section, and you are going to be the faculty advisor. And I thought, oh shit, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. They're going to discover what a horrible fraud I am, how little I know. This is an organization that publishes a peer-reviewed journal that adjudicates technical standards for technical interoperability so that this machine can talk to this tape recorder and this many packets of information flow this way on the cable. And I thought, oh my God, this is gonna be the end, and I'm gonna be completely excommunicated. Well, I gotta tell you, what I found out about the AES is that it encompasses so much. There's so many different people with so many different amazing skills. And so I found a great home there, and I just kept doing things. And I started this AES section at my college, and I would just invite all kinds of interesting people. The first person I invited was the guy who engineered these records by Sly and the Family Stone. Do you guys even know who that is? Okay, because if you don't, you should. Anyway, he told us all about his career and the work that he had done, and it was fascinating. Students loved it. I had this small company come and talk about their software where you could master entirely in the box, and people kind of laughed at them and snickered at them and thought, that's not real mastering. That company was called Isotope. Perhaps you've heard of them, and so many of my students went on to work for them. I had people come and we made wax cylinder recordings, just all kinds of incredible things. I remember I was asked to be part of the AES Education Committee, and I started doing this event in Boston for many years called the Boston Area Definitive Audio Student Summit, but we called it Badass. And we'd have all kinds of workshops and tutorials, and it was just really a way of getting students involved in that kind of community so that they would go, that was a great experience. I met the woman from Avid, and I met the person from Isotope, and I met this person who invented the first digital reverberation unit. And to get them to want to be really involved with the Audio Engineering Society, that was really my community. That really helped me. A lot of my students are not audio engineers and don't aspire to be. Maybe they're doing, something else. Find your community. Some of my favorite people in the whole world come from this community. There are student competitions.
Hi, my name is Miles Fullwider. I'm co-vice chair of the Audio Engineering Society's Education Committee and program director for the Music Technology and Digital Media Management programs at the University of St. Francis in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm reaching out to all of you audio students to come and participate in this year's AES Student Recording Competition. Students from all across the globe to come and participate virtually and receive valuable feedback from some of the industry's finest professionals on their work. Students can submit work in a variety of different categories. Such categories include traditional acoustic recording, which showcases the natural acoustic environment of an ensemble being recorded therein. We have traditional studio recording, which focuses on the traditional studio or home studio environment where multi-track recording and editing and mixing are happening. We have a modern studio recording and electronic music category, which really explores the idea of the studio or home studio environment functioning like an instrument. And then our last category is our sound for visual media, where any audio that supports the visual experience, so this could be film, TV, video games, signature graphics, advertisement spots, things of this nature can be submitted. And no competition would be complete without prizes. And we have wonderful prizes that have been donated by our incredible sponsors that will be awarded during this convention.
So, that's a wonderful way. I know that oftentimes the interaction between the students who enter this competition and the judges goes beyond the conventions, and they find new mentors through this kind of thing. Here's another one. The AES also has a student design competition.
What will the future of audio gear look like? I'm not sure, but I think you have a pretty good idea. I'm Christoph Thompson. I'm the chair of the AES Student Design Competition. If you're a coder or builder and you love audio gear, the Audio Engineering Society is here to support you. We want to see and hear your ideas, and we are asking you to submit your design to our Student Design Competition. You will receive constructive feedback from some of the top engineers in the world. Take this opportunity. Our jury is always made up of the best and brightest in the field, so that you can receive the recognition and feedback that will take you to the next level. And the AES wants to be there with you when you arrive. Plus, with the support of our partner API Audio, we are able to offer the winners generous cash prizes. We're looking for students from both audio and non-audio backgrounds to submit entries. Eligible entries are, for example, loudspeakers, DSP plugins, analog processors, signal analysis tools, mobile apps, synthesizers, or maybe workflow solutions. The submission deadline is May 16. Please check out the links below for the rules and how to apply. We are looking at the next generation of inventors to show their ideas and move the industry forward. We are looking at you. And I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing your design. If you're an educator, please share this with your students.
So it's a great way to make connection with people in the industry who might see the kind of work that you're doing, or might see your work on a tabletop and think, hey, that's someone who we should be courting. And if you're a professor, it's also a great way for people to take notice of your program, and perhaps for your students to be, your program to be noticed. So I think it's kind of a win-win for everyone. And there are some very generous cash prizes. There are education and career fairs at the Audio Engineering Society, especially if you're thinking about going into a graduate program or something like that. I'm not even going to play that for you. There are scholarships available. Scholarships are available for graduate study for audio-related topics. So those are available to student members of the Audio Engineering Society. Some past events that are of recent: the International Conference on Spatial and Immersive Audio, where a lot of new information happens. And the wonderful thing is, if there's 200 or 300 people there, they are the 200 or 300 people that you really want to get to know and want you to know them. So it's definitely worthwhile to get to things like that. I was asked to chair this conference that I did in 2023, the AES Conference on Audio Archiving, Preservation, and Restoration at the United States Library of Congress, Personally, I don't know that much about audio archiving, preservation, and restoration, but I know all of the great experts in the world who do, and I brought them together, and I just made sure we had really good food and a great time. And there are so many interesting things that have come from that experience. And, anyone who's, if you're still looking for your thing, your field inside of audio, archiving is doing some really interesting things. There was a conference on education that happened last year. There's a conference coming up on headphone technology in Finland that you might be interested in. There's one coming up on artificial intelligence and machine learning for audio. So lots of great things. There's also a conference coming up on diversity, equity, and inclusion next April in San Diego, California, which might be of interest to you. Some other non-AES events that you might be interested in, if anybody's interested in coming to Mexico City, there's an event, it's called the Soundcheck Expo, and one of the things I love about the Soundcheck Expo is that when they start it's a big trade show with about 30,000 people. When they started out, they parade all of the mucky mucks, all the important people up and down the aisles with a big mariachi band. And it's definitely a lot of fun. And I'm going to be doing an event there called the Pan American Audio Educators Conference, which is going to happen concurrently. And it's really a way to get professors from South America, from places like Lima and Quito and Medellin and Bogota and Buenos Aires, to come up and join with professors from Nashville and Boston and New York and Indiana, and lots of professors from Mexico, and talk about how we're working together with developers and pushing forward curriculum and pedagogy. So lots of great things that are happening. If you can't travel to an AES convention, it's always a good idea to start. Maybe you'll do one in Denmark. But there are lots of regional events in different places. In South America, they're excellent at that. Here's strategy number 13. If you are insecure, feeling young and inexperienced, keep in mind that the most recently graduated are the most currently educated. So if you went to school, if I graduated from college in 1984, and I don't know what immersive audio was back then. Maybe it's throwing your mono record player like over your shoulder. I don't know. But there is a lot of new stuff, and there's great value in hiring someone who's young and brings a different kind of perspective. So, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, there's an older person who knows a lot more than I do. And there's value to that too. But there also is great value to a young person with enthusiasm and new ideas, a new way of looking at things. And you're probably less expensive too. So they probably are thinking, wow, I'm going to hire someone younger. Take advantage of resources for personal skills, strategy number 14. And here's another one that I'm a big fan of. Read this book. It was written in the 1930s. There's a guy named Dale Carnegie, and he wrote this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. My own children make fun of me because I love this book so much. I reread it and reread it all the time, and I always pick out new things about it. To me, it's maybe the most important book about the human condition. I learn a lot as I progress through life. I learn about what motivates people, what makes them interested, and you're going to be in a situation where you're going to rely upon other people. You're thinking, I want this person to hire me. I want this person to hire my company. I want this person to ask me to work on this project with them. How do you motivate them to sort of see your point of view, and what is it about them that might be helpful for you to know. So I'm a big fan of this book. I know that it's in every language. It was, like I said, it was written in the 1930s. You could even go on YouTube and you could find the recording of this book and just listen to it if that's of interest to you. But it has had a great impact on me. And strategy number 15 is always remember that the most important thing is how you make people feel. I can't overestimate this enough. And there's a quote that I think about a lot. I'm a big fan of the late poet and actress and great author Maya Angelou. I don't know whether you guys know Maya Angelou, but she wrote, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." I wish I had known this better when I was in my 20s. I think it would have helped me. I will say, I'm honored that you invited me, that you came to my little talk when there are so many amazing things here that you could have been at. And so you've made me feel really good. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you for listening. And if there are any questions that you have for me, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.